Chaitanya Prabhu Nitya Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaurava Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We continue reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 21, Text 38. Brahmanya Deva Purusha Puratano Nityam Hariya Charana Abhivandana Avapalakshmim Anapayanim Yasho Jagat Pavitram Jamahat Mahagranihi. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, the ancient eternal Godhead, who is foremost amongst all great personalities, obtained the opulence of his staunch reputation, which purifies the entire universe, by worshipping the lotus feet of those Brahmanas and Vaishnavas. The Supreme Person is described herein as Brahmanya Deva. Brahmanya refers to the Brahmanas, the Vaishnavas, or the Brahminical culture, and Deva means worshipable Lord. Therefore, unless one is on the transcendental platform of being a Vaishnava or on the highest platform, material goodness, as a Brahmana, he cannot appreciate the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the lower stages of ignorance and passion, it is difficult to appreciate or understand the Supreme Lord. So Prabhupada is pointing out that one at least has to come to the mode of goodness to be able to understand the Supreme Lord. Vaishnavas, of course, they are transcendental. They are not even in the mode of material goodness. They are above that, Shuddha Sattva, transcendental. Therefore, the Lord is described herein as the worshipable deity for persons in Brahmanical and Vaishnava culture. Namo Brahmnaya Devaya Go Brahmnaya Hitaya Cha Jagadipaya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Vishnu Puran 1, 1965. Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the prime protector of Brahminical culture and the cow. Without knowing and respecting these, one cannot realize the science of God, and without this knowledge, any welfare activities or humanitarian propaganda cannot be successful. So Krishna is God. Go Brahmnaya Itayacha. Go Brahmnaya Itayacha. Krishna is always protecting the cows and the Brahmanas. Prabhupada is pointing out that without doing this, we will not be able to realize Krishna. Without supporting cow protection, without supporting the Brahminical culture. Because in the modes of good passion and ignorance, it becomes very difficult to understand the Supreme Lord. The Lord is Purusha, or the Supreme Enjoyer. Not only is he the enjoyer when he appears as a manifested incarnation, but he's the enjoyer since time immemorial, from the very beginning, Puratnaha, and eternally, Nityam. So we may think, oh, Krishna is enjoyer when he comes as Gopal, as when he comes as Shyam Sundar 5,000 years ago. No, that's his eternal position. He's always the enjoyer. Yacharana Bhivandanat, Pṛthu Maharaj said that the Supreme Personality of Godhead attained this opulence of eternal fame simply by worshipping the lotus feet of the Brahmanas. Now, Krishna is God. No one is more powerful than him, but he likes to be called. He's saying that I'm becoming glorious. Why? Because I'm protecting the Brahmanas. I'm worshipping the Brahmanas. That's why I have gotten this fame. You see, we like to take the fame for ourselves. Oh, I'm so great. I did this, I did that. And Krishna is saying, no, no, no. The Brahmanas and Vaishnavas are so great, and I worship them. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is said that the Lord does not need to work to achieve material gain. Since he is perpetually supremely perfect, he does not need to obtain anything. But still it is said that he obtained his opulences by worshipping the lotus feet of the Brahmanas. These are his exemplary actions. I mean, he's God, he has everything. He has all the opulences in full. But yet he says that he's become opulent because he worships the Brahmanas and Vaishnavas. So this is the position that he gives to Brahmanas and Vaishnavas. And he's setting an example for us to follow. When Sudama Vipra, when Lord Sri Krishna was in Dwarka, he offered his respects by bowing down at the lotus feet of Narad. When Sudama Vipra came to his house, Lord Krishna personally washed his feet and gave him a seat on his personal bed. Although he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna offered his respects to Maharaj Yudhishthir and Kunti. The Lord's exemplary behavior is to teach us. We should learn from his personal behavior how to give protection to the cow, how to cultivate Brahmanical qualities, and how to respect the Brahmanas and Vaishnavas. So there is no one more powerful than Krishna. He does not need to bow down in front of anyone. Yet he is bowing down to the Vaishnavas and to the Brahmanas. Also to his elders, Yudhishthir, Maharaj, and Kunti. They are his elders, superiors. So he's setting an example for us. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that he does not need to do anything. But whatever a famous man does, ordinary people follow. Krishna is the most famous personality. So he sets the example. He's not an ordinary person. He's the supreme personality of Godhead. The Lord says in Bhagavad Gita 3.21, Yad yad acharati shreshtas tad tad eva tarojana. If the leading personalities behave in a certain manner, others follow them automatically. Who can be more of a leading personality than the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and whose behavior could be more exemplary? It is not that he needed to do all these things to acquire material gain, but all of these acts were performed just to teach us how to behave in this material world. So Krishna is always famous, but he's setting the example. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is described herein as Mahatama Agrani. Within this material world, the Mahatamas or great personalities are Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, but he's above them all. Narayana Paro Avyakta, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is in a transcendental position above everything created within this material world. His opulence, his riches, his beauty, his wisdom, his knowledge, his renunciation, his reputation are all Jagat Pavitram, universally purifying. The more we discuss his opulences, the more the universe becomes purer and purer. So this is Krishna's position because he's transcendental, he's supreme. His opulences are not material. We have material opulences right now, whatever opulence we may have, but that's material. But Krishna, his opulence is supreme opulence. And by glorifying him, the universe becomes pure. Prabhupada is saying the more we discuss his opulence, the more the universe becomes purer and purer. So by chanting the glories of Lord Krishna, by chanting his pastimes, his qualities, everyone gets purified. The whole universe is benefited. In the material world, the opulences possessed by a material person are never fixed. Today one may be a very rich man, but tomorrow he may become poor. Today one is very famous, but tomorrow he may be infamous. Materially obtained opulences are never fixed. But all six opulences perpetually exist in the Supreme Personality of Godhead, not only in the spiritual world, but also in this material world. Krishna's reputation is fixed, and his book of wisdom, Bhagavad Gita, is still honored. Everything to the Supreme Personality of Godhead is eternally existing. It's true, no? Our opulence, someday we have it, someday we don't. That's why we're always so fearful. When we get some opulence, we are fearful, oh, it's going to go away. Sometimes it may go away, sometimes it may not. It's just the way it is. It's temporary. But Krishna's opulences always existing. And Prabhupada is pointing out, not that he's opulent only in the spiritual world. His opulence is there in the material world also. Today, 5,000 years later, we are all still trying to understand Bhagavad Gita, his words, not only on this planet, and everywhere, in all the universes, his Bhagavad Gita is being spoken and studied. So, this is the opulence of Krishna. Yatseva Yashesha Guhashaya Swaran. Vipra Priyastosyati Kamam Ishvaraha.
Vipra Priyastusyati Kamam Ishvaraha.
Tadeva Tadharma Parer Vinite.
Tadeva Tadharma Pare Vinite.
Sarvatmana Brahma Kulam Nishevayatam.
Sarvatmana Brahma Kulam Niveshyatam.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is everlastingly independent and who exists in everyone's heart, is very pleased with those who follow in his footsteps and engage without reservation in the service of the descendants of Brahmanas and Vaishnavas. For he is always dear to Brahmanas and Vaishnavas, and they are always dear to him. It is said that the Lord is most pleased when he sees one engage in the service of his devotee. He does not need any service from anyone because he is complete. But it is in our own interest to offer all kinds of services to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. These services can be offered to the Supreme Person not directly, but through the service of Brahmanas and Vaishnavas. So Krishna says, one who is my devotee is not really my devotee, but one who is a devotee of my devotee. He is my devotee. That's what Lord Chaitanya also teaches us. Das, dasanu, 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 das. The servant of the servant of the servant of the servant of the master of the gopis. That's what we should try to become, a servant of the servant. Krishna does not appreciate that we directly approach him, because then we can make up a lot of things, we can imagine a lot of things. So he has set the system through his devotees, because the devotees can teach us properly, can show us how to actually serve. Srila Narottam Das Thakur says, Chadiya Vaishnav Seva Nistar Paye Chekeva, which means that unless one serves the Vaishnavas and Brahmanas, one cannot get liberation from the material clutches. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur also says, Yasya Prasadat Bhagavad Prasada. By satisfying the senses of the spiritual master, one can satisfy the senses of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because we have forgotten Krishna. So we don't know how to please him. But the Vaishnavas, they know how to please him. So they can engage us in the service of Krishna. Thus, this behavior is not only mentioned in scriptures, but also followed by acharyas. Pṛthu Maharaj advised his citizens to follow the exemplary behavior of the Lord himself and thus engage in the service of Brahmanas and Vaishnavas. So being the servant of the servant of the servant of the servant of the master of the gopis, Gopi Bharatur, Padakamalayur, Das, Dasanu, 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 Das. That's what Lord Chaitanya teaches us. Umalabheta netivelam atmanaha.
Pumalabheta navtivelam atmanaha.
Prasidato antyanta samam swata swayam.
Prasidato atyanta sama swatta swayam.
Yannitya sambandha nishevaya tata.
Yannitya sambandha nishevaya tataha.
Param kim atrasti mukham havir bhujam.
Param Kim atrasti mukham havirbhujam.
By regular service to the Brahmanas and Vaishnavas, one can clear the dirt from his heart and thus enjoy supreme peace and liberation from material attachment and be satisfied. In this world, there is no fruitive activity superior to serving the Brahmana class, for this can bring pleasure to the demigods for whom the many sacrifices are recommended. In Bhagavad Gita 265 it is said, Prasade sarva dukkhanam hanir asopajayate. Unless one is self-satisfied, he cannot be free from the miserable conditions of material existence. Therefore, it is essential to render service to the Brahmanas and Vaishnavas to achieve the perfection of self-satisfaction. So service to the Vaishnavas, to the spiritual master, is of two types. One is Vapu and one is Vani. While Vapu means serving the physical body of the spiritual master, and Vani means serving his instructions. Vapu may or may not be possible, may or may not be appreciable, but Vani, we can always follow. Eternally, the words of the spiritual master are eternal, following his instructions. That's how we can please the spiritual master. So Lord Chaitanya tells us, each of us to become a guru, he says, that you, on my order, tell everyone about Krishna. Give this Hare Krishna mantra to everyone on my order. Of course, it doesn't mean that we actually think of ourselves as gurus. No, we always think of us that we are the servant of the servant of the servant. You know, that's who we are. So, but serving the instruction of the spiritual master, like Srila Prabhupada, his instructions to spread this knowledge all over the world, we can still serve Srila Prabhupada by serving his instruction, hearing and chanting, and giving Krishna consciousness to everyone. Srila Narottam Das Thakur therefore says, Tandera Charana Sevi Bhakta Sanivas, Janme Janme Haya E Abhilash. Birth after birth, I desire to serve the lotus feet of the Acharyas and live in a society of devotees. A spiritual atmosphere can be maintained only by living in a society of devotees and by serving the orders of the Acharyas. The spiritual master is the best Brahmana. At present, in the age of Kali, it is very difficult to render service to the Brahmana Kula or the Brahmana class. The difficulty, according to the Varaha Purana, is that demons, taking advantage of Kali Yuga, have taken birth in Brahmana families. Rakshasa Kalim Ashritya Jayante Brahma Yonishu Varaha Puran. In other words, in this age, there are many so-called caste Brahmanas and caste Goswamis who, taking advantage of the Shastra and of the innocence of people in general, claim to be Brahmanas and Vaishnavas by hereditary right. So Prabhupada is pointing out, of course, what Varaha Purana is saying. Varaha Purana is saying, because this is the age of Kali. So they are people being born in the families of Brahmanas, but they might not have the Brahmanical qualities. One will not derive any benefit by rendering service to such false Brahmana kulas. One must therefore take shelter of a bona fide spiritual master and his associates, and should also render service to them. For such activity will greatly help the neophyte in attaining full satisfaction. So we should search out a bona fide spiritual master. This has been very clearly explained by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in his explanation of the verse Vyavasayatmika Buddhir Ekeha Kuru Nandana, Bhagavad Gita 2.41. By actually following the regulative principles of Bhakti Yoga, as recommended by Srila Narottam Das Thakur, one can very quickly come to the transcendental platform of liberation, as explained in this verse, Atyanta Shamam. So Srila Prabhupada himself, he says that he took great inspiration from Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's explanation of this, Vyasayatmika Buddhir Ekeha Kuru Nandana. Bhagavad Gita 2.41, and it really inspired him to take up the mission that the instruction that his Guru Mahārāja told him to spread the message of Bhagavad Gita all around the world. The particular use of the word anati vela, without delay, is very significant, because simply by serving Brahmanas and Vaishnavas, one can get liberation. There is no need to undergo severe penances and austerities. The vivid example of this is Narad Muni himself. In his previous birth, he was simply a maidservant's son, but he got the opportunity to serve exalted Brahmanas and Vaishnavas. And thus, in his next life, he not only became liberated, but became famous as the supreme spiritual master of the entire Vaishnava disciplic succession. Yeah, if we see our line, Krishna gave the knowledge to Brahmaji, Brahmaji gave it to Narad Muni to Vyasadeva. So Narad Muni is so famous. In his previous life, as we read, he was just a small boy, and he rendered some simple service to the Vaishnavas. And he heard from them. He did some service to them, gave him that enough eagerness to hear from them about the Lord. And he became Narad Muni in his next life. According to the Vedic system, therefore, it is customarily recommended that after performing a ritualistic ceremony, one should feed the Brahmanas. Okay, prasad distribution. So should we stop here? Because then we have to stop in between. What do you think? It's 3 minutes only. Are there any questions or comments?
And also, Narad Muni in his previous, he is the maid servant's son. He even ate the remnants, right? Of the
Yeah, that's right. Even ate the
Brahmanas.
remnants. Yes, very powerful to get the remnants of the pure devotees. Very powerful. It said the dust of the lotus feet of the pure devotees, the remnants. And some may appreciate it, some may not. The foot bath, the water that washes the feet. Some may appreciate, some may not. So, but yeah, following the instructions, very, very powerful also. But yes, the dust of the lotus feet of the Vaishnavas, the remnants, and the foot bath of the Vaishnavas. Very, very powerful. So Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Hare Krishna.